AzureSpot Q offers several different tools for intensity analysis. Once you've adjusted your image to display as you'd like, click on the Analysis tab to open the analysis workflow. The first tab is Intensity Analysis, and that allows you to define bands or regions of interest using rectangles, ellipses, a pencil to free draw, or there's a multi-ROI draw tool. To use the rectangle, you click on Rectangle and click and drag to draw rectangles around your spots. Once you define a region of interest, the table will automatically pop up with your shape ID, the area of your shape, the volume of the signal intensity within your shape, and the average pixel intensity within that shape. If you have multiple regions to define and you'd like the shapes to be the same dimensions, you can copy the shape that you drew and click Multi-Region Paste. From there, you can click on the center of every region of interest you'd like to define, and it will paste the shape over the center that you clicked. Click Select to adjust any bands that you may have misclicked or would like to adjust. You can also delete bands by selecting a specific band and clicking Delete. Or while in select mode, if you make any adjustments to your shapes and would like to apply that adjustment to all shapes, you can click Apply Size to all shapes and it will apply those adjustments across the board. You can also draw a shape and do a single copy and paste rather than a multi copy and paste, which will give you a single extra shape for you to move wherever you'd like. This same workflow can be applied to ellipses. Click and drag to draw the shape. Press Select to make any adjustments to that shape. Copy and multi-region paste if you desire. If your regions of interest don't fall within the rectangle and ellipses shapes, you can use the pencil to free draw and define your area of interest that way. If you are analyzing an image that has multiple bands in a row, such as a gel or Western blot, you also have the option to use the multi-ROI draw tool. To use this tool, just enter the number of bands that you would like in your grid. Click Band Grid, and then click and drag the grid across your image to add a row of boxes. Once your grid has been added, you can use the Select tool to adjust the placement of the grid as a whole. Or if you need to adjust individual boxes, click out of the grid and then select individual boxes to adjust them individually. And you can see in the table below, as I'm adjusting my individual boxes, the relevant data is highlighted and it auto-populates as I adjust. Going back to the previous image, because I have a simple image, I'm going to use the rectangle draw tool, draw around my region of interest, and copy and just paste that region of interest across. Once I finish defining my regions of interest, I can move to background subtraction. AzureSpot Q offers several different background subtraction options. Local will use the average pixel intensity along the border of each shape to determine the background signal of that shape. Control area will allow you to select one or more existing shapes within your image to serve as the background control. So to use this, I would have had to draw in the intensity analysis another shape that will serve as my background control. Now that I have an extra shape here, I can click on Control Area which will allow me to select this area as my background control. The background control area is shown here, and the background corrected volume is updated on the table below. Surface minimum will use the lowest pixel intensity values within each shape to determine the background signal. This is helpful when you have bands that are pretty close together. As you can see in this image, the shapes are overlapping a little bit. So if I use something like local, where it takes the edges of the shape, I may accidentally hit some intensity of the band next door using local background subtraction. Surface minimum negates that by just taking the lowest values within the shape. Constant value allows me to enter a pixel value that will be used as my background level. This is helpful for quality control, or if you need to use the same background across several different images that maybe were taken one after another for uniformity purposes. To use this, I would enter a pixel value, click OK, then that pixel value will be used to determine the background for each shape. None is no background subtraction and applies no background correction to any of the regions of interest. For a simple image, all you may need is to define the regions of interest and correct for your background. Once you have completed that, you can click here to adjust the table to show whatever data you would like. So I can add my background. If I would like the dimensions of my shapes, I can add that as well. The minimum intensity, maximum intensity, the standard deviation or median of the intensity within each shape, the average background, the standard deviation of the background, the signal to noise ratios, and mass if I had done quantity calibration. Once I have completed the analysis that I would like to perform on my image and customize the table to display any data that I would like, I can click here to export the data to a spreadsheet file, or copy the data table to paste into a spreadsheet. Or I can click Generate Report to create a detailed report of my image analysis. The report will show my image name, the date and time the report was generated, my software version, as well as my image and any info associated with my image, and details and data of the analysis performed. I can save, export, or print my report from here.